You are listening to the Not Neurotypical podcast. I'm your host, Laura Stan, and this podcast is all about being neurodivergent in a really neurotypical world. I am a married mom of three, I'm trying to stay married, and I also work, I try to work. Anyway, if you don't mind me using you as therapy, strap on your seatbelts, hold on tight, because it's probably going to be a bumpy ride. Welcome to Not Neurotypical, a neurodivergent podcast. Today is a proud episode. Today is uplifting, and for once, I'm not talking about a struggle. I'm seeing things really clearly, and it feels really good. So I'm so excited to share this episode with you, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy going through this phase of my journey. But first, I did it. I came out of the Autistic Closet, and today was just different. I woke up today and I was ready. And I've been saying lately on the podcast, I know it's coming, but I'm not sure when. I feel like it's soon, but it's not yet. And it wasn't right until today. And I can't really explain why, but it was. It was just today was the right day. And I didn't really know what I expected. I'm definitely a prepare for the worst kind of person, as I've also discussed on the podcast. But I was ready. If there was any negativity, I wasn't going to be bothered by it. I woke up today just there. I grew somehow. I don't really know how. It's probably processing issues, but I grew and I'm there. I'm ready. So I decided to take to Facebook, where all my friends and family are, pretty much. And I wrote out a nice little piece, a presentation for them of how I was going to share, and I did it. And this is what it says. Public service announcement. Do I look autistic to you? Is there a look to autism? Do you have a really negative view of autism? Well, read on, because I'm outing myself right now, and here it goes. Hunter, my son, was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder plus other conditions on top of his ADHD diagnosis on May 23rd of this year. He was 8 years old. I noticed developmental issues that I just couldn't ignore, even though the things I saw were dismissed by teachers, principals, family doctors, and therapists since he was 2 years old. Admittedly, I didn't know much about autism or what it looks like in different types of people. Since I was now a, quote, autism mom, I dove into the research. I wanted to learn as much as I could, and I became informed. And with that education, I suddenly found my whole life now made sense. Whoa. Every struggle fully explained, and I figured out why I struggled when things just never really made sense beforehand. Could I be autistic? I read up on symptoms of autism in females, and I was blown away. It doesn't look anything like my previous view of autism. I was officially diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder on July 1st of this year through the Adult Autism Spectrum Program at Penn. They are one of the best, and they are one of the few specialists for adults with autism in the world, or at least diagnosing them. The next couple of months were really hard, but I created an Instagram account and a podcast to deal with my reality and process all of it. And it's amazing how far both have come so far. I invite you to listen and to follow both. I'll put the links in the comments. My youngest, Georgia, was then diagnosed with ASD as well as other things within the last month. Welcome to the club, my Georgie girl. So 1, an autism diagnosis doesn't have to be a sad realization or a bad thing. Myself and my kids will still be happy and successful. 2, I'm releasing this publicly because I don't really want to have a personal discussion with everyone in my life about all of this. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, though. I welcome it, but I prefer a text or a private message. And 3, everyone with autism is different. We are all our own people. Don't assume I have the same struggles as anyone else with autism, or even the same as Georgia or Hunter, my kids. And 4, hopefully you can receive this information in a positive way like we are. Maybe this info makes sense to you, or maybe it doesn't. And if it doesn't, I respectfully ask that you keep it to yourself and don't discredit me or my kids or invalidate our reality. And 5, follow my new Instagram and listen to my podcast if you want to hear my journey. And that was it. I got a lot of really nice comments and no negativity. A little surprise is that none of my close family liked the post. And these are people that typically like or comment on pretty much everything I post, which is few and far between, honestly. So I don't know, maybe the algorithm moved down. It's interesting. I always wonder, did they not know how to react? Are they waiting to comment or like it until they see me? I don't know. I overthink everything. You guys know that. But yeah, and also I just want to send a quick shout out to all my listeners and my Instagram followers. And I want to make it really clear that, sorry, I'm really not emotional, but you guys have helped me so much. I encourage all of you to put yourself out there, whatever that means for you. For me, it was the fact that I knew that processing this was going to be talking about it and interacting with other people and sharing and learning together. That's what I needed, and that's what I did. And I didn't know I needed it this bad, but you guys helped me realize that. And I really encourage all of you to put yourself out there in some way and find the help. Even if you're not sure exactly what that is, find it somehow. I mean, I found it through you guys. And being able to talk about this and feel like I'm being myself for the first time in my life in my 30s. And not only am I being myself, I'm in a space where people get me and understand me. I've never had that, and I wouldn't have had that if I didn't put myself out there. And, they say with great risk comes great reward, and I found that out so deeply through this experience. I found out how true that is, and I could have so easily just kept to what I was doing, kept to myself, just laid in bed for months, which I definitely did the first month. Don't get me wrong. But I definitely could have just kind of wasted away and wallowed. And I mean, that might be a part of your process, but I knew I couldn't do that forever. And I had to make a decision and figure out how I was going to grow and conquer this. And I did that by starting an Instagram. You might do that by starting a blog. and interacting with other people, or writing a book, or public speaking, or sharing in some way that puts yourself out there, shares your story, it's so important. And I want you to be thinking of that. If you haven't gotten your diagnosis yet, I want you to think about how you are going to deal with this. Don't just have this why me attitude, which is natural at first, like, why am I going through this? Of course, like, while you're processing this, but get over that and then start looking to the future. What are you going to do to not only overcome this, but to thrive? Because every single one of us has the capability to be happy and to thrive and to be successful. The difference is that all of those things look very different for each and every one of us. But it's up to you to get yourself there. And we do that by being real with ourselves and growing when we need to and believing that we can. And beyond that, we have to know when to ask for support and when to advocate, which for us is all the time, and when to stand up to the bullshit, or when to be passive. We have to learn. We have to be calculating. We're already so calculating. I mean, if we can naturally wear a mask the way that we do and don't even know it, we can grow. And I feel like if you can mask like me for 35 years, I'm going to flip that script and be positive here. I feel like I can do anything. If my brain is so powerful that I can just fake everything for 35 years and not even know I'm doing it, that's a power that I feel like I can harness and you can harness, because that's amazing. I mean, yeah, it's a really negative thing, but we could totally flip that and be calculating and see the patterns in other places and use that negativity for some really good purpose. And that's how I feel right now. I'm starting to really find my voice, find my purpose, and see where I'm headed. And it's a beautiful thing. But I couldn't have gotten there without accepting my reality, accepting the yucky ugliness of the whole thing, and just accepting it, embracing it, and then slowly turning it around. And that's what I did. And more recently, I had a review from one of my Instagram followers, and I wanted to read it because it's so touching. And this is exactly what I'm talking about with putting myself out there and just making these great contacts with these people that I share with and I grow with together. And the review is on iTunes. The subject is Amazing and Talented Autistic Woman. Laura shares her perspective on being an autism mom with a late diagnosis of autism herself. She is so fresh and straightforward and unflinchingly honest. Somehow the podcast is also educational and uplifting. How does she do it? Not to mention, Laura has an incredible voice. She can make anything sound interesting. Check her out. Her new series about the Lost Girls is so cool. That review means so much to me, and I just feel it in my bones. I mean, I am straightforward. I am unflinchingly honest. I'm happy that you guys see that. And this is me putting myself out there. And I'm not going to lie, I did all of this for me. I knew I had to do this. I knew other people needed to hear this. But if I didn't get huge value and benefit out of this, I wouldn't have done it, because I was in such a fragile state. There's no way I could have just pretended to sacrifice myself and my story for others. It's totally not this martyr story. This whole process has helped me as much or more than anybody else out there, I promise you. And thank you for listening. Deepest, heartfelt thank you to all of my listeners for following me this far and being here with me and listening to me cry, which I hate doing, but I'm doing it publicly because this is a real and raw journey that I'm sharing with you. And like I said, I really encourage you guys to figure out what is going to help you process all of this and put yourself out there and do it. Because once you do that, there's no turning back. You're out there. You're forced in some ways to process things that need to be processed. And I just also want to point out that, and I've said this before, there is absolutely no rules for how quick you have to process this. And there is no certain journey that you need to be on. You get to decide that. This is a beautiful thing. I want you to feel empowered. You figured out, most likely, that you might be autistic or ADHD or OCD or whatever you are going through right now. You figured it out. You should be proud of yourself, because there are some people, for whatever reason, either they don't realize it or they don't face things and they go their whole life struggling and don't get the help they need. And you're here right now because you are seeking that help. And I want you to be so proud of yourself. And I want you to realize, like, you are already excelling because you figured it out. I figured it out when it smacked me in the face when my son got diagnosed. But for whatever reason, I could have doubted it and I could have run away from it. We all have those choices that we make. And you're here today listening to this because you didn't run away from possibilities, even if you saw them as negative. But for all the hard times and all the negativity and the hard feelings of the realization that comes with the fact that we live in a society that sees all of this as negative, and we're faced with that reality, when we accept that, we give ourselves the chance to completely deny and dismiss those lies that there's one better type of person, or the lie that only certain people can do certain things, or the lies that there is a certain type of person that we need to be, and if you're not that, you are not as good as that certain type of person. And we can embrace those lies, or we can completely reject them and do our own thing. And you think about all the great people in history and all the people that changed the world, or even just their little world or their little corner of a half of a little tiny piece of history, or whatever you want to say. All the people that changed things were people that did not accept lies. They are people like us. We live in a world that we don't understand, and we just can't accept things the way that other people want us to. We were made for this. We were made to crush myths and to tell people it's okay that I'm not like society. It's okay. I'm still going to be successful and I'm happy. And you don't get to tell me what happiness is. I get to tell you what makes me happy. And this is what we are dealing with. We don't have to take on the whole world. You can't take on the whole world. You start with yourself. And then you touch a few lives close to you. You start advocating. You share. And then from there, you touch a few other people. You share more. You start changing people's minds. You share the perception of what autism really is, or what ADHD or OCD or any of that really is. You start teaching people. But you don't teach with words, you teach with your actions. People get to see that you can be happy even though they had a negative perception of what you are dealing with. And you can show them, but it starts with you. That's what I'm learning right now. I can't change the world. No one can just change the world. It's not 0 to 60. You start small and you start inside with yourself. That's where I am right now. Every day I'm faced with trying to be the best mom I can be. And every day I have a choice of just doing my best or feeling like I can do better. And there's a lot of days where I totally subscribe to the I can do better, and I feel that guilt. But lately, I've been not accepting that myth. I am realizing that my best is good enough. My kids are happy. Isn't that every mother's dream? And listen, kids go through struggles. I surely did. And I'm here. And especially with the support of my husband, who I've advocated tirelessly for and with, um, shared what I need from him, how I need it. And he's been so supportive and receptive. And I'm so lucky to have that. But the point is, every day we have a choice for ourselves of accepting a negative self talk or, like, that I can do better. I wish I could do better. Or we can say, I'm doing my best. This is what I have today. Because it's not realistic. What are we even talking about when we're like, I could do better? I mean, that's crazy. Like, I'm just thinking about this out loud right now because it's something I say to myself. I feel like I could do better. But what does that even mean? That's literally just me wanting to be negative on myself because it's not productive. I literally don't even know what it means. What does it mean? Of course, anyone could do better, but what if I can't do any better than I'm doing right now? Can you say, possibly, am I trying my best? Am I giving this my all? And then you decide. But I could do better is just such a negative thing that I say to myself all the time. And I make those choices. And your thoughts are choices too. That's something that I'm learning, especially in my 30s. Like in my 20s, when I was spiraling and just not living my best life at all, I had so much negative self talk. I was more down on myself than anyone else has ever been to me. And I've been treated pretty crappy. But I subscribed to all the stuff I heard, and I even made it worse by just talking so negatively. And that's a choice. You choose to lift yourself up and decide to think positively and say, yes, this sucks. But like, you can still be realistic. You can be a real and genuine person. I struggle with that. Sometimes I think that being real is always being negative, and it's just not. Realistically, I need to accept my reality, but something I really need is to look to the future with positivity. That's something that I really need on a deep level. And I've started doing that for myself. So instead of waking up or the first little fight my kids have and maybe I didn't handle it well, instead of saying, I can do better, I'm saying, next time I'm going to handle that a little better. And you know what? I gave it my best. Maybe it wasn't good enough this time, but I am going to be this way. Like, just be more specific. Do you know what I mean? With yourself instead of talking so negatively. And it's helped me so much. And that's really where I am right now, seeing the positives in all of this. I came out of the closet today to my friends and family on Facebook. I shared with you exactly what I said, and it feels good. It felt good. I didn't even know how it would feel. That's one thing I have a really hard time with, is predicting how I'm gonna feel about things. Most of the time, I don't know. When I'm in the thick of it, I don't even know how I feel a lot of the times. But right now, I feel really good. I asked people to not share negativity with me as I was sharing this, and no one did yet. And I don't think they're going to if they haven't yet. And I think that's an amazing thing. I welcomed discussion on the subject, but I didn't have to talk to everyone personally. There's just different ways we can handle it, and I get to make those rules. I get to decide who I share what with and when. I don't owe anyone an explanation for anything, but if it's productive and if I'm ready, it's a great thing to do, to explain, this is what I'm going through and this is why I feel this way, or whatever. For so many years, I sheltered myself from the world, and I think that's because I was masking and I couldn't handle anything. And deep down, I knew I couldn't handle anything. I was processing things badly. The masking was so confusing. I would talk myself into something, and then it wouldn't be until right before a meltdown that I would realize that it wasn't real. And that's so confusing. It's so confusing. And it's been 4 months now since I've taken the mask off. And it was hard at first. It was really hard. And I still find myself struggling with it a little bit, but nothing like I did. Like now, it's like when I am here, it's me. And I guarantee you I wouldn't have that right now if I didn't start that Instagram where I came out first in a safe space with autistic people, and I was able to show myself, and all of a sudden people were accepting me for who I really was. I was info dumping. Like right now, I'm info dumping, and you guys are sitting there listening to this. It's so amazing and therapeutic to be able to share and to have people listen to this stuff and be receptive. And that's why I say in my opener, if you don't mind me using you as therapy, and I laugh, but it's so true. Like, this is so therapeutic and it builds me up. I'm processing things in real time with you, and it's such a special thing. And the feedback that I get on a daily basis from my Instagram followers and the emails I get, it's so special. So I'm going to wrap this up now. I encourage all of you to put yourself out there in some way, even if it's in a safe space. Create that secret Instagram where you get to be yourself. It is so fun. It's so fun. Create a secret Instagram where you can just completely be yourself and see what kind of response you get. Find the people that are going to love you and accept you and share with them. It is such a beautiful thing. Or write that book, start that blog, write that music. Do what you need to do to grow, because we only live one time. And that would really, really suck if you lived your whole life shaming yourself for stuff that you could have been proud of. I want to thank you for making it to the end of episode 8 of the Not Neurotypical podcast. I appreciate all of my listeners so much. And if you are enjoying what you hear on this podcast, please leave a review or subscribe or follow, depending on whichever platform you're listening on. And Thank you. Thank you for sticking around and being supportive. It means so much to me. And if you don't yet, follow me on Instagram at Laura Stan. That's LAURAZDAN. Shoot me an email at laurastan, LAURAZDAN, at iCloud.com. And let me know if there's anything I'm missing that you want to hear. I would really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week, and thank you once again for listening. Until next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.